Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Pathfinder Plays. And today I want to talk a bit about the day before, a new massively multiplayer survival game set in a deadly post-pandemic America. And there's flesh-hungry infected, there's survivors as in other players, there's maybe NPCs as well. You gotta find food, weapons, cars, gasoline, other resources like that, and you wake up in a world you no longer remember, setting out to find answers in the resources to survive. Now, they released a gameplay trailer, and I put gameplay in quotes because honestly, whenever things look like this that they show, you're not really sure if this is the actual game or if this is rendered in a certain way to make it look better or detailed or whatever, but they call it a gameplay trailer. It's also the announcement trailer on IGN, but it's pretty interesting. I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess would be the appropriate way to say that. But immediately, at first I was really wondering what makes this a survival game, because it doesn't show much in the actual trailer in terms of survival. There's not much surviving going on. It doesn't seem at least hardcore. But if you look at the very bottom left-hand side, you do see three icons. One has a little snowflake on it, one has a little thunderbolt on it, and one has a liquid drop on it. And the snowflake is probably temperature-wise, so that I'm assuming that the gear you have will directly impact how cold your character gets. And if your character's cold, maybe there's going to be some sort of a debuff, I would assume. Whereas if you're warmer, then your character would either have a buff or they would just act like they normally would. The thunderbolt is probably just your nutrition, as in your calories, and the little teardrop is probably hydration. All simple stuff. I don't know about the debuffs or buffs or possibilities of that, or what happens if they just go to zero. Anyways, so that's the survival aspect of it. Now, the one thing I hate with games like this, and they did it with The Division too, and this game looks uncannily like The Division. And the thing I hate is that they always like to do this stupid, cringy, scripted thing with this like hardcore post-apocalyptic humanity on the brink of extinction game, where you have these guys who live normal lives and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose and now they're like, let's go get some fuel, dude. Okay, man, I'll check the skyscraper. All right, I'll go down here and check the cars.
All right. I have found a great cowboy hat.
And it's just so, I hate it, because no one talks like that in online games unless you're in a like strictly RP Discord server or something, and even then, no, you just don't. And the one thing I don't like about the trailer is that they go to search for fuel. They say, hey, let's search for fuel. And then the guy searches in like the front door. He doesn't even look in like, there's no like siphon tool to get fuel out of the gas tank of cars. There's no searching in the trunks for fuel cans. One guy searches in a skyscraper for fuel for whatever reason. As far as the animations go, they honestly look pretty good. The sound quality seems really good. The world is beautiful, but graphics don't really make the game, which is interesting because you would think as games develop and 4K comes around being more relevant in video games and maybe YouTube and RTX technology now, but honestly, there's 8-bit games still being made today that are way more popular than a lot of the more beautiful games out there today, so that's not really a factor. I will say, for searching the vehicles, something I am worried about is that locks you into an animation. I don't like that because this is an MMO survival game, okay? So that means that if you get locked into an animation, people can simply wait for you to get locked into that 3-second animation to search a car and then just bop you in the head, and you can't do anything about it because you see, whenever you go up to the car and you engage with the searching mechanic, your character stands there and like kind of like bobs around and like looking around stuff and everything, and it doesn't appear like you have very much control over it. So hopefully they'll get rid of that and just place objects on the seat or on the floor or in the trunk and we can just loot it. That's the best mechanic, I think. Now, the inventory is pretty basic as well. You have the primary weapon, secondary weapon, headwear, and armor slots. You have a backpack, pants, outerwear as well. I'm not sure why there isn't like an innerwear. Maybe you're just freaking wearing a jacket, dude. Doesn't even matter. And what you actually have in your backpack in the moment, it looks like a tape recorder, the watch, a lighter, some sort of a magazine, and then some rounds. The loot that you are searching for, or I'm assuming is in either the vicinity or in the car, is shown on the left-hand side under the word loot, which that is self-explanatory. Something else that I'm curious about is that of all the items that you can actually search for and equip, boots is not one of them, neither is gloves. The actual cosmetic customization does seem rather limited in a game like this in terms of what it's going for, I think. Something that this trailer mentions is a survivor colony where apparently all the players can get together, buy things, sell things, team up maybe, and then go out into the world. That also sounds a lot like the Division safe zones. I feel like the Division really is a strong inspiration for the style of game, which is not a bad thing at all. Aesthetically, I love the Division. It totally flopped. At least the first one did. I'm not sure how the second one did, but the first one was terrible. I expected a lot more. And I'm hoping that being as this game has taken some creative liberties from the Division, that they have also noted where it failed and hopefully won't make some of the same mistakes. It is a different game, obviously. It's not going to be exactly the same, but I've seen games that look like this before, and a lot of the times they just don't make it. Not at least not past a year or so, and whenever they finally get up and running, the player base just isn't there because the gaming community is so persnickety. That's right, I pulled out a $5 word there. And first impressions are everything, and if you betray them in their eyes on their first playthrough and the gameplay doesn't match the trailer, then more than likely they're going to be pissed and they're not going to play your game again, at least not for years. Now, I do love the Christmas Winterland ambiance that they're giving in this trailer, where he's going into the supermarket and you hear the muffled radio of Christmas music, and then he opens the door and it gets louder and clearer now. It really adds to the gritty sensationalism, I think, that they're going for, and I personally love that a lot. You also see in this store right here that he sees a vending machine and he goes over to it and he interacts with it. And he drinks a soda can, and the little teardrop meter down there actually does go up. So that does, in fact, replenish your thirst. Although I'm not sure if that would also replenish your energy as well, because obviously sodas, they have carbs, sugars, fats, some of them as well. And I didn't see that meter down there for the energy move up at all. So that would be something that I would add, at least for some of them, you know, especially like energy drinks, right? Totally. Now, the audio does something very strange whenever the guys actually come into the store, the other survivors. Everything gets muffled. You hear them more clearly. You hear their voices. And I'm not sure if that's just for this quote-unquote gameplay trailer, or if this is actually implemented in the game.
Let's pick up some supplies and get out of here.
Let's check it out.
Oh shit. Got company. Could use some help now.
I hope it's just for the gameplay trailer, because there's going to be zero sneaking around or anything if that actually happens every time you get within a proximity of other players. Now, the gunfight itself, it honestly looked awesome. It looked great. It looked pretty polished. The grenade throw was legit. I'm not sure if these were supposed to be actually NPCs or other players. It sounded obviously scripted like the other guys, but it sounded a bit more robotic, I suppose. Now, he also kills a guy with a grenade, and then searches his body, and it gets locked into another animation, which I don't know, man. I don't like to see it, because you're going to get the guy who ran out beforehand could easily come back and just kill this guy while he's in the midst of this searching animation. So I hope there's a way to like cancel the animation at the very least. We do get a more clear view of what the survival aspects in this game are now, because he exits the minimart and a blizzard starts. And then you see in the bottom left-hand corner, his little snowflake meter, it begins to drop. So I still have questions as to whether his gear slows that decline, or if that's just the temperature of outdoors. Hopefully the clothes actually matter and have some utility to them, and they're not just for cosmetics or aesthetics, because that would just make for a better survival experience. And also, and for more environmental dangers, sound does attract the infected, which is always nice. It also does appear that there's going to be crafting to a certain extent in the game as well, because whenever it gets into the elevator and the bandage, you see it stops one bleeding when used. Sure, but also it says materials needed, herbs and rags. So you do pick up items, and at least there's a bit of minimalistic crafting in there. You see this says hold space to craft, and it goes into your inventory under consumables. So there's equipment and then there's consumables. So that's pretty dope. I do have another question though in terms of bleeding. It says stops one bleeding when used. Now I'm really curious about this because SCUM suffers from this right now, to where if you get hit by a puppet or a zombie, for those who aren't familiar with it, and you get scratched and you start bleeding, you will bleed until you die. No matter if you took 2 damage or not, you will eventually bleed out. It won't clot. So I'm assuming what constitutes a bleed? Is it a gunshot? Is it getting hit by one infected? How strenuous is this? Or does the bleeding stop if it's a minor injury over time? Something that I love and that is quite interesting is whenever he gets out of the elevator, you just see the dark silhouettes of all the infected in the skyscraper. And it's given me some real I Am Legend vibes. And I love it. And it's very interesting because he's shining his light on them and they don't react to that visual stimulus, apparently. They only react, as far as I know, to audio. So that's good to know. So as long as you don't run or sprint or shoot or throw things, I don't know, you should be good to go. And then at the very end, you see his partner being eaten, and that is a very fascinating thing to me. So it's just a strange idea for me. It's a really cool idea, but it's a strange idea to where if you're a player and you get killed by an infected, your body will stay there. It will persist in the world, and infected will come to your body, at least the one that killed you, and just feed on it. That's interesting to me. I don't know why, but it's cool. I guess I want to know how long it stays that way. Will your body decompose or reduce in some way because they're eating you? Will you come back as an infected? Is that a feature that's been implemented? Will your clothes and gear get damaged because they're tearing at it? Lots of things I'm really interested in knowing about this aspect that they've put into the game. I don't know. If you guys have any theories, leave them in the comments below. That is the end of the trailer that they gave us. I'm very excited. It's a mix of The Last of Us and The Division and probably whatever else. But give me your guys' thoughts in the comments below. I'm very fascinated about this game. I am cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping for the best, honestly. This is one of those games where I saw and I was like, man, this could be it, right? And we've all had that moment where we see a survival game and we're like, man, that could be it. The survival game to end all survival games. And at least one that's like an MMO like this. I don't know how expansive the world is. I don't know lots of things. I don't know how much gear you can get. If it's going to be like a bullet sponge kind of a game where each enemy has like a health bar. You have to, like The Division, right? Where you have to they soak up bullets. I have no idea. How can you interact with the environment besides vending machines? Can you blow up cars or propane tanks or things like that? There's a lot of things that I want to see more of. I really do. And hopefully they show more of it as the game progresses, because this is definitely on my radar. Hopefully it's good, man. I really hope it does. But anyways, guys, that is the end of the trailer. Once again, leave me your thoughts and or critiques in the comments below. Thank you to my members for giving me a little bit of support and love over this time. You keep the infected at bay and my warmth elevated, so I appreciate you very much. And guys, as always, if you guys like scares, survival, and scavenging, consider hitting that subscribe button, that like button, share this video with your friends, and I will see you guys in the next one. Path out.